Oh my god, Jesus going up first with Taxi. We guys are pulling all the stops at the start. Taxi getting hit with a stun by the pet, but actually it might be really bad for Jesus because that Taxi is basically immune to all CC. I think maybe not to grips, but definitely immune to like any hard CC. Setting up a gateway just in case. It's going to be full dots onto that pet, but the pet is going to be amped up. That aim pet actually does quite a bit of damage. It's going to be going into the huddle, so the pet takes like what, 50% less damage, if not 40 or 80. I think that was it 80 at some point, chat. I think you used to do a huddle where the pet like huddles in place, but takes like very little damage. But it looks like when it's in big A-bomb form, it gets the defensive without having to huddle in place, without CCing itself. It looks like Jesus actually might have used a few death calls, might have been on the pet. As Taxi's actually getting ripped apart by the army of undead. He is just unCCable, but he is not invulnerable to damage. And those pets are just putting in work. Finally got some dots on it. Jesus is going to be a quick flush cuff for the Death Knight to recover as he's trying to deal with the shadow damage of Taxi. Death Knights being generally one of those classes that deal pretty well with magic damage. Full dots on a pet, full dots on Jesus. Going to be Dark Glare. It's going to go for ages together with the anti-magic zone. His health is still taking a lot of damage. Stun from distance. Death Bolt to follow. Drain left right after. Jesus trying to sacrifice his pet. IBF. Everything just to survive. Missing that interrupt versus Taxi as Taxi popped every cooldown available. Jesus, is he going to rotate more defenses? Looks like he might have stayed off a lot of that dot pressure so far. That Spell Warden is going to end up helping recover on health. Every time those dots stick on him, there's a chance to proc Spell Warden, which is going to be quite a decent absorb to proportional to his health. Try to get some damage to Jesus. Quick yoink by the Death Knight as he goes in for the Death Strike. Taxi popping off a full Dark Glare to extend those dots, but Jesus has himself anti-magic shell. That's going to be AMS dropping, but the army of the dead joining in. Stun on Jesus with a quick drain life. Jesus in such a bad spot, fully dotted. Aegis not really doing much for him. Trying to flush cut through the damage. That's going to be quick interrupt by Taxi. Jesus just has a little bit of life left on him, but his health bar is burning off though. Aegis is only going to protect a portion of the damage it take. The only time it absorbs damage fully is if it's from cosmic damage, like the Resonator Trinket. Or I guess certain boss fights. I guess some of the bosses in the new raid, technically. Resonator is good there. Ace are trying to go for a double tap. Aim shot onto fake Taxi as he goes in for a quick Fear versus Acer. Taxi is going to burn off all the dots. Rapid contagion onto Acer. Trying to see if he can burn through a flesh cup. Looks like Acer is taking a bit of damage. Trying to see if he can maybe get some rapid fire damage on Taxi. Taxi with a drain. Acer not looking so good. He might get every heal in the world. Oh, hit him with that Malefic Rapture from a mile away. Malefic Rapture technically, it will basically cause your dots to flare up. Bit of shadow damage for every dot that's on the target. It has no distance cap, does it? It can just do it from miles away as long as you can see him. And in PvP, you can see each other at all times, so as long as you don't have line of sight. Taxi going in for a big board. Lots of damage from Facile. Actually, it looks like Taxi taking a big damage. Was that a big burst? Facile just continued to blast out Taxi, and it looks like the Doom Bulls do end up capitalizing on it. Facile taking it back for his team. The only thing that can stop a Warlock is another Warlock. I think it might be the season of Warlocks, man. You had Destro Warlocks popping off double Chaos Bolts back to back. Demonology Warlock with big Demon Bolts. And you got Affliction Warlocks draining people dry. It's actually like an interesting season, honestly. Decimate Bolt getting set up on Facile. Has to burn through Spell Warden. That Spell Warden is going to give him quite a bit of damage reduction versus the next few bursts. If maybe Boss can wait out the Spell Warden a little bit, he might be in a decent spot. Silence on Facile. Big damage to the Spell Warden. Actually, it doesn't even matter. Continue to blast out of Facile. Facile's at half a shell, but I think a lot of the burst from Ballas is gone. Going to be a wall for Facile as he goes in for a Fear onto Ballas. Trying to set up a bit of burst of his own. Summon an extra pet. Needs to go for the full Tyrant play. It's going to be an interrupt onto Ballas for a second. Does get himself a Dark Pact. Is that also a Spell Warden of his own? It is. Facile can maybe go for a burst of his own, but looks like Ballas bails out of there with a port. Set it up ahead of time. So Facile's a little bit behind on health. Does at least have the Succubus to drain from. But the Succubus could go for Seduce just to CC him. The boss is going to be back there building up for a Shadow Bolt damage, probably building up for even more pets. He has himself the full Tyrant Burst ready to go anytime, any place. He's going to pull the pet back, needs to give us a little bit of heal. Facile, if he has himself a Decimate Bolt, he could potentially use a Decimating on a Succubus that's at low health. Does get himself a bit of burst, potentially could be bad for Ballas. Mordecai does give him a heal. Hanagal does get himself for Ballas. Dark Pact is up for Facile. Does he have any more burst? Looks like he's going to go for a port, cut out in the open. Decimated Bolt, get a load up for Ballas. Does he have himself a big go? Huge. Actually, Facile, we need one more global. It's actually such a bad spot. Wait, Ballas, does he have one more damage bolt? Mordecai, pretty bad for him, but Facile's so low in health, the Succubus take him out. Potentially, maybe Ballas could just board on top of him. He just did one more. Oh, there it goes. That's all he needed, just one more bolt. That's all he needed, just one more. And he did do it. Colonel is going to be up next. as an elemental shaman. Is going to be catching balls. He's kind of low health. The dark pack, I don't know if he's going to do much for him unless he's got a spell warden. Unless he got the Aegis trinket. I keep calling spell warden, but the Aegis, I think he might be in a tight spot. Big zaps could come out for Colonel. Just use a line of sight on the Warlock. Warlock is not really the most mobile class ever. Could potentially get himself close enough to the port. He could use the port in order to try to see if he could swing away from Colonel. Just trying to avoid him. That fire elemental actually disappearing. It looks like Colonel is just going to sink some damage into the succubus instead, putting a flame shock on that thing. A lot of his damage was Stormkeeper. Was gone. Didn't he just cancel Stormkeeper? It looks like his backup a full down. I thought he just used it. Apparently not. Going to be a fresh new succubus, get someone up a ballast. I think he wants to go for a little bit of succubus CC on the shaman if he can. Fear real quickly. Actually denies it instead. Actually, he won't even be able to use it. That is a resolve trinket on Colonel. So once you get hit by a CC, there's only so much you can do. Balls does go for a big gateway. At least creates himself a little bit of space. I think he just might want to summon himself another succubus or at least pull it back, because eventually Colonel is going to end up taking that thing out. Looks like it's exactly what's happening. He's trying to pull the pet back. The other guy's trying to slow it. That's going to be a fresh new succubus or incubus. But it's going to be spell warden. Mordecai get it set up. Boss will not be able to do too much CC on Colonel. Resolve for resolve. They're basically just out in the open trying to do as much damage once they get CC'd or interrupted by one another. Dark Rider is up a boss. That's going to be the fire elemental joining in. For Colonel, this could be huge damage. Does get him some big lava bursts. Does it go for maybe big zaps? Looks like he doesn't have a Stormkeeper set up. Boss is going to back up out of there for a second. Needs to go for Decimate Bolt at some point. Is going to get interrupted. He can still cast maybe some demon spells, so Hand to Go Down still can come out. Needs to get some sort of CC onto Colonel at some point. There's going to be a quick fear. Does he maybe go for Shadow Bolts on the fire elemental? He could. It's going to be a big setup. Grounding Totem is going to stop a lot of the bursts. Colonel popping on the wall. Is going to try to see if he can get himself a healing surge. Boss still has a lot of potential damage. Could go for a potential one shot. Wall is reducing the damage crazy good. Boss, I think he has one more demon bolt ready to go. He just needs to make sure he got the pets. He got himself maybe some shadow bolts built up. He doesn't really have a lot of defenses right now, so next last of a Colonel could be extremely bad for him. Maybe he can go for the succubus CC for a second and just find a totem and shadow bolt it a couple of times. Mordecai into Colonel with a fear right after. Will not be able to stop the fear, or will not really be able to match up a proper fear on him. But it's going to be at least pets chasing after the Ellis Shaman as the Warlock is trying desperately just to find himself a little bit of survivability. Colonel, if anything, at least has self-healing. As we head into that 10-minute, 30-second mark, 33% dampening isn't holding this man back at all. Balls does have a dark pack ready in case he wants to use it. Wall available as well in case he chooses to use it. That's also going to be a Tyrant. So you're actually setting up for a big setup. He just needs some healing. He just needs some help to survive the go. Because Colonel could just kill him in a single lasso. The lasso is going to put him in a bad spot. But the succubus CC stops him in place. Trying to get some Shadow Bolts into the Colonel. Potentially could maybe give himself some big damage. Going to be Ellie Blast. As Colonel setting up for a big lava burst. Just trying to keep the slows of the Ballas. As he at least gets himself a flesh scaft up around the corner. Going to be a flesh scaft for Colonel as he's moving with it. So he's not running Maryland by the looks of it. I think it's a many. Going to be interrupted on the Colonel. Does get interrupted on the Ballas. Both of them get each other very, very low. Trying to go for lightning bolts while moving. You should at least get a sword keep up or something. That's going to be a big spell warden. Boss is going to big damage anyway. Colonel is in big trouble. Wall is up right now. Is it still going to go down? Big damage. Ball is just burning through that 50% shield, 40% wall. He actually got himself the most amount of burst through like insane amount of defenses. That is Aegis. 50% of the damage goes into the shield. 40% of the damage reduced by wall. I know they don't stack. It's not like a 90% damage reduction because it doesn't like add like that, but it still is a lot of defenses, and the man still got blasted. Just trying to see if he can sneak away from Joel. Just trying to see if he can escape. Wall is up right now. Could use the gateway. He's going to use the gateway. Needs to find a way to slow Joel at all times. There goes the succubus CC as he pops a hand of freedom on himself. Definitely wants to hit a slow onto Joel with the curse of exhaustion. Keeping the Paladin slow is going to be super, super important here. Able to get a bit of damage. The succubus is able to apply slow onto Joel. And Boss needs to get Joel low enough, hit him with a decimated bolt, set up for some big one shot, and then surprise Joel out of nowhere. But looks like he's just going to let the succubus do its thing, back it up out of there completely. Going to be a succubus CC as Boss does catch him out in the open, no wall or nothing. So for Joel, might just have to burn a bubble as soon as possible. It's going to be that shield of vengeance. Does he have himself a hand of freedom? Going to be a full Tyrant. Boss could potentially have himself the big burst versus Joel, trying to set up even more pets, trying to do the very biggest burst possible. If Joel is surprised by this burst, it could be really bad for him. Oh wait, he actually almost just killed him with just a decimated bolt and a demon bolt. Wait, he could still be in trouble. Boss just need to survive this. He just need to live this. One more global onto Joel and it's over. One more global. If Joel doesn't recover in health, it's over. Succubus CC, I think Balls has it. Potentially, Big demon bolt, there it is. He literally just need to live that. He set up some big nukes. He just needs to live long enough. Boss with 3 kills, dude. Warlocks, man. Tags it with 2. Draining these boys. Ball is blasting these guys out.